We are Maria
and Nicole. We're two secular homeschooling moms that have
been there, done that. Are you searching for a way to make learning more memorable and impactful for your kids? Are you tired of screen time or exhausted with a boring curriculum? A literature-based homeschool might be exactly what you need.
This approach not only prepares your child for academic success, but it also nurtures a lifelong love of learning and reading. It can enrich their communication skills, and it can transform your lessons into an engaging, interconnected experience.
And today we're sharing how using a literature-based approach in both our homeschools has set our kids up for success and how it can transform your homeschool too.
And as usual, we want to stress that our podcast is an inclusive space for your everyday parents that are looking for education options. We are not here to convince you to homeschool. We want to stress that you need to do what works for your child and for your family.
Every family's different.
Absolutely. And you know your children best. So feel free to take what advice or information you get from here that works for you and chuck the rest.
Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Maria. How's it going?
It is going well. I'm so excited to see you. Everything's happening and changing. The semester started for a lot of schools. And
yeah, but not us. We're having our last week of summer this week.
We have our museums back.
I know. It's so nice.
It is.
I love this time of year.
It is. It's like the sweet spot because field trips haven't started yet. And so like the world is finally ours again.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice. And I get really excited by like back to school stuff. Even though like we don't need like a ton of like supplies and all of that. Jillian and I have been to Target like 5 times this week. I'm like, do you need anything? Do you need any school supplies? Do you need some new markers? She's like, I don't need markers. Like, what would I need markers for? I'm like, I don't know. You always need like nice fresh markers, don't you?
Like you and I have my craft room. You have all your supplies. So
I know. And I haven't bought like a nice colored set of Sharpies in a while.
We talked about this in our first day of homeschool episode. You know, we talked about like all the fun things you can do when school starts. And I always do my first day baskets.
Yeah, I've been posting some pictures of them.
You did? I didn't see that.
Yeah, oh, I did.
All over the place. Thumbs that up.
Yeah, you should. But so you're all set with your basket, I assume.
Well, actually, I've been busy. I've been podcasting. I've been working. So no, I don't. But I have 2 more weeks, I think, till school.
You have 1 more week. It starts next Monday.
Oh, it's crazy.
And he's a senior. Are you going to have like an over-the-top senior basket?
I kind of am. I have ideas. Right? I just haven't made them happen. And one thing I always do is I do the Nutella. I get them the huge bottle of Nutella and I put like there's all the grades.
Yeah.
And he gets his senior Nutella this year.
Oh yeah, we'll have to post the link to that because that's a really cute idea.
I think it's on our first day of homeschool episode. I'll put it in here just because we're talking about it. But yeah. They always. They eat it. They'll just sit there and eat it straight from the jar.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love some Nutella.
So what's going on with you?
Well, my middle daughter, Jane, turned 21 this past weekend.
I know. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
I have to post some pictures because I'm not 100% sure why her theme was something like Revolutionary War or Independence Day. I don't know.
I saw that on Facebook. I didn't know, but Jack went to go.
Yeah. Jack went from Denver. We did not, because we had just been there and we're kind of planning a trip for September, a family trip for my anniversary. But so we sent Jack as the representative. I think she would have more fun with her 22-year-old brother than her mom and dad. They are, and he hadn't seen her new apartment and stuff. But 2 of her friends came in full on like Hamilton, like Revolutionary soldier.
Our homeschoolers are the homeschooliest homeschoolers.
Yeah. I know. These girls weren't homeschooled, but they smell like homeschoolers, if you know what I mean. So, but it was funny. But I was going to tell you this funny thing that Jane has a new roommate that she's living with this summer. This semester. And she's one of her sorority sisters. And this summer they were doing like little kind of bios of some of the members on their sorority webpage. And so I saw her new roommate who I hadn't met yet. And it was describing her school journey and then talked about a love of learning. And I was like, what?
Oh, is she listening to our podcast?
I don't know.
We say that all the time.
I was like, Jane, I just saw Mary's bio says love of learning. I'm like, that's our like tagline. I'm like, I think it's going to be great. I'm going to love her.
Did she roll her eyes at you?
She probably did, at least internally, right?
Well, Well, as she's having her Revolutionary War birthday party at
Right.
21. Who does that?
Who does that? I don't know. I don't know.
Homeschoolers.
Totally homeschoolers.
Oh gosh. Well, we have some really great things to talk about today because we both really enjoyed literature-based homeschool.
We did.
We've explored a lot of different ways and methods that our kids learn, but I mean, really, the right homeschooling method can make all the difference in success. So, how do they learn best? Schools often rely on boring textbooks, but homeschooling offers up a world of alternative approaches, and really there's so many different methods out there.
Oh my gosh, so many. And we've both used different approaches over the years. We even recreated an episode about all the different types. But today we really want to talk to you about a literature based approach to homeschooling.
Right. And probably we should identify and define exactly what that means.
Right.
So we're all about igniting a love of learning. We just
love of
talked about.
learning.
And a literature based approach can be a powerful way to do just that.
Yeah, this method uses what we call living books. And a living book is one that was written by a person who has a deep passion or expert level for the subject that they're writing about. And it's a book that will draw you into a story and really captivate your imagination. They make you really care about the subjects or the characters and get you to think.
Yeah, and the beauty of this approach is its flexibility. You can easily create your own literature-based units we created a free unit planner, and you can get books from the library, so you don't have to spend a lot of money. Or you can also choose from tons of ready-made curricula with pre-selected sources, and it can offer a rich blend of literature. Oftentimes, we love BYL, and there's so many out there.
Yeah. And I mean, why choose a literature based approach? Well, the power of a literature based education goes just beyond like learning facts. It really nurtures that love of reading, and in turn, it develops strong writing skills. When children are exposed to well written stories, they naturally absorb the rhythms and the structures of good writing. I just love like a well written book. This immersion in quality literature helps them develop a rich vocabulary and an understanding of narrative flow and the ability to express their thoughts clearly and creatively.
Yeah, and our own experience with this method has been invaluable in our homeschools. Our young adults have all earned their associate's degrees while they were still in high school, and our little teenagers are on the same path. My son is entering his senior year.
Senior year.
Your daughter's entering her junior year.
Yep.
So excited and kind of sad at the same time. And they've not only thrived academically, but they've also each developed a deep love of reading and writing. They were well prepared for college, and we're confident that this approach can bring a similar success to your children.
Yeah, sometimes people feel like this isn't enough, like a literature based education is not rigorous enough, but this couldn't be further from the truth. There's so much value in being well read.
Absolutely. And we've heard from a lot of new homeschoolers who, after withdrawing their child from school, expressed concerns about how their previous school forced them to read dry and really inaccessible textbooks. This kind of experience can spoil a child's love for reading or even turn them off entirely from it. But you can change this, and you can help your child rediscover a love for literature, and you can start today.
I know. It always breaks my heart when I see somebody post about like their kid coming out of school and my kid really hates history. I'm like, what?
That's the best part of homeschooling.
How can you hate history? Like you're just doing the wrong stuff. And honestly, if you're struggling after withdrawing your child from school, it's essential that you begin the process of deschooling too. This is just a little aside. Deschooling, we've talked about many times. We've got a whole episode on that. It's a really important step after withdrawing your child as it helps them regain their natural curiosity and kind of undoes some of that public school mentality. And it really helps develop that love of learning. And the episode that we have for that Deschooling 101 is episode 34. We give a lot of practical strategies and ways to set you up for success. So do this before you start any program.
Yes, please do this. It's a step that's most often forgotten or just skipped because they just want to
don't think it's important.
Well, they make fear-based decisions. They withdraw their child, and all of a sudden they just want to just jump in because they don't want their child behind. But I assure you, you are going to set yourself up for disaster unless you do that. But think about it. Stories have been cherished across cultures and throughout history for centuries. Myths, legends, and historical accounts have been passed down through storytelling. Stories have a profound impact on our lives, and they're woven into the very fabric of who we are.
Right. How often do you hear your kids ask can I hear just one more chapter from a textbook?
Absolutely never.
Never, never. But when children read and hear a good story, then they become emotionally invested and they just really want to keep going. Stories provide them insights into life and other times and places while subtly teaching them about character and values.
And we can't talk about a literature based curriculum without talking a little bit about Charlotte Mason. And she was a pioneering educator in the late 19th century, and she profoundly influenced the literature based approach to homeschooling.
Right. She believed that education should be an engaging and enriching experience, and she encouraged teachers to introduce great minds to her students, authors, artists, and composers, and then just get out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So it makes sense that the methods that she used for literature were simply reading and narration.
Yeah, she really championed the use of that term living books, written by a single author passionate about the subject. Her philosophies really continue to inspire homeschoolers all over the world, emphasizing the importance of fostering a lifelong love of learning through well written literature. She was always just about like exposing the kids.
Right.
Like they don't have to understand it. They don't have to, like, I always think of the example of the book Peter Pan that we loved. Like, I remember us reading this and the kids, when we went to do the narration, they're like, I have no idea what just happened in the book. But as it went on and the story unfolded, it just got easier and easier. But the language is just like absolutely beautiful in that
It's
book.
so rich. It really is. And it helps them really, like we talked about earlier, develop their vocabulary themselves.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
though they don't always realize it, the exposure of these words
Oh, yeah.
is so valuable. And you'll find a lot of Charlotte Mason inspired curricula choices out there, both religious and secular. But one of the greatest joys of a literature based homeschool is the way it brings your entire family together. I mean, imagine your kids cuddled up on the sofa sharing stories about history or science and also classic literature.
Yeah, I mean, reading aloud as a family not only enhances learning, but it really just builds those strong bonds and it ignites some fantastic and sometimes intense discussions too. You might laugh or possibly shed some tears together over a powerful story. These are some of our favorite memories together. Like reading the Chronicles of Narnia was one of those special times for me and my kids. This is a great series set during World War II. It follows Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy as they discover the land of Narnia through a wardrobe. And it's a great series. It was one of my favorites as a kid, and I loved introducing it to my kids. It really sparked a lot of discussions about bravery and loyalty and sacrifice. And each of my kids had something to contribute, like as we were reading this, all ages. And we still read aloud at my house. This isn't something that you just do with young kids. You can continue this on through high school.
Right. She's 16 now, and that's what
Yeah.
you're doing in your homeschool.
We love it.
And let's be honest, dry facts are hard to remember. But when you wrap those facts up in a captivating story, they suddenly stick. And stories give context to information, it makes it more meaningful and memorable for them. For example, learning about the Revolutionary War through the eyes of a young soldier in a historical novel like Johnny Tremaine makes events come alive and provides a deeper understanding than just memorizing a list of dates or battles that they ever could. Incorporate a timeline and have your kids artistically draw events for that timeline, and then you have the beginning of a unit study. We've always loved using timelines in our homeschool, and we published our Book of Centuries to make this super simple. They're a little more efficient than using an entire wall in your home, which I have done. I have pictures on one of our pages. I don't
You
know.
totally
Was that the
have.
first day of homeschool? Or no, the 25 essentials list. I think
Yeah.
I put the pictures of our homeschools, and
You did.
it took the entire hallway.
Oh my gosh.
Long
Well, and Jillian's going to disagree with you about Johnny Tremaine, though.
She is?
She finds that book so traumatizing. And then I always like throw in conversations about, the warning her about the hazards of a unfortunate silversmithing accident. And we always talk about that. But we were in Boston this summer, and she sure does remember a lot from that book. We bring it
See?
up a lot while we're there.
See, it worked.
It
did.
did.
She's educated. She has the facts.
Exactly.
They're not always fun facts, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, and it really is totally true that these books can evoke a lot of emotion. I remember reading Number the Stars, which brought the terrible events of World War II to life for my kids in a way that no textbook ever could. And, it's set in Nazi occupied Denmark.
Yeah.
And the story follows a young girl, Anne Marie, and she helps her Jewish friend Ellen escape to safety. It's really such a powerful book, and your kids will truly feel the fear, the courage, and the hope of all the characters. And this book sparks some really meaningful conversations about history and human nature. But I assure you, the emotional connection to the story cemented the historical facts in my kids' minds, just like Jillian. Especially when their mom is blubbering like a baby. And on more than one occasion, this has happened. I've had to take a break because I was literally crying so hard. And I've learned more about history in my homeschool, teaching my own kids, than I was ever taught in public school. Like a lot of homeschoolers, I was learning right alongside my kids.
Yeah, it's one of the best things about homeschooling, even when you are crying in a restaurant.
In a restaurant.
While reading Bridge to Terabithia to your kids. Oh, I knew better. That wasn't even my first time with that book.
That was so funny, that story. So she's in, we'll tell them.
I know. We were just at a restaurant. I'd brought our read aloud with us so that we could read while we were waiting for our lunch to arrive. And it was Bridge to Terabithia. And, there's a really, really sad part in there.
It is a traumatic book.
gosh.
It really is.
Everybody was looking at us. My kids were like, this is really embarrassing. But, you do what you got to do. Because we all love a good story.
We do. Even if you're blubbering like a baby in a restaurant.
I know. So whether we're laughing at a funny tale or listening to grandparents share memories at a family reunion, stories just connect us. My kids, for sure, always remember that Bridge of Terabithia book just for that. And, the Olympics just ended. The entire world, watched not only for the events, but also for the stories of athletes overcoming obstacles. It really does connect us all.
Or the Australian breakdancer.
Oh, my gosh. What was that?
That was crazy.
That was insane.
From a young age, we are drawn to storytelling. It really is in our nature. Narratives connect us to others and offers a powerful way to teach your kids. And this can truly make learning more integrated and more meaningful. For subjects like math that require skill level lessons, you can set aside time for each child to work on whatever level they are.
Right, but many subjects can be learned together. The depth and complexity of the work may vary depending on your child's age, but the subject matter can remain the same. We're seeing a lot of questions right now, people starting back to homeschool, and they're talking about, how do I balance my older and younger kids? Well, doing stuff together, doing a read aloud, doing a morning basket, that kind of stuff where you do stuff together and then break off is great. And, unlike the traditional school model where subjects are all taught separately, like language arts, math, science, history, a literature-based approach really reflects that interconnectedness of knowledge. And your students can read and write about what they're learning in history, science, and geography all together, making that whole learning experience more cohesive and efficient.
That's absolutely true. My kids are 3.5 years apart, and, people thought I was crazy in the beginning. I've always combined them.
Yeah.
Always.
I know.
And I mean, obviously things like that are skill level, like math, they were separate, but yeah, we've combined all subjects, and it's just so true. I talked on a previous episode how one day we were doing a geography lesson on longitude and latitude and looking at the globe, and it totally turned into a if you give a mouse a cookie moment.
I love those.
You know that book.
Oh, yeah.
So the conversation led to time zones, which led to science and math, calculating the speed of light. And then we started reading all about Einstein's theory of relativity, which of course led to the kids outside running around to see if they could run the speed of light. But I can count 5 subjects being covered in just this one moment in our homeschool, and there's so many examples I could give that this happened. And this is my favorite part about homeschooling. It makes learning more efficient. And then we have more time for meeting up with friends and projects and all kinds of extracurriculars we've done over the years. And homeschooling can take a fraction of the time, especially if you're using a method like literature-based. And this is exactly why homeschoolers often have more opportunities to socialize. It really is the biggest myth of homeschooling. And if you don't believe me, you really need to check out our socialization episode to learn about that.
Exactly. The biggest myth. So just a reminder that we release regular episodes that we drop on Thursday mornings just for you. And if you have any additional ideas or comments, please come and comment on our Facebook or Instagram page on the thread about the episode, or send us an email at info@btdthomeschool.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Like we said earlier, literature-based homeschooling can really make learning an adventure rather than a chore, and it really does engage your heart and mind.
Right. And one example I can think about is reading Anne of Green Gables. I know you love that
I
book too.
love that whole
And
series.
it really is so good. It was kind of a game changer for us. It's set in the late 19th century and it follows the adventures of Anne Shirley. And she's an imaginative and really talkative orphan. And she finds a home in a small community on Prince Edward Island. Our kids connected with Anne's adventures, and she had so many dreams and so many challenges. They learned about kindness and perseverance, and just the imagination in a way that no worksheet ever could teach. And my kids, their hearts and their minds were totally fully engaged when we read this book, and every night they would beg for just another chapter, just another. I swear, like we talked about earlier, that's
Yeah.
never happened with the textbook.
No, not with a textbook. And my kids loved Robin Hood like nothing else. I mean, I swear for a year, like we lived a Sherwood Forest life at my house.
I love that.
Like all the time. I think I've talked about this in an episode before, but like my kids called all the meals victuals. And I'd yell things like, don't crown your sister with a cudgel. Like we just, we were crazy. Have we mentioned that homeschoolers often have very broad vocabularies?
That is so true. I was just my friend Lisa was just telling some friends yesterday, yeah, I've met Riley, my oldest. She's so articulate. And I'm like, aw.
Oh, yeah.
That's so sweet to hear that.
That is.
Another thing that a literature-based curriculum does is it really exposes your kids to a diverse and inclusive, broader perspective of all kinds of things. Incorporating diverse and inclusive stories into your child's reading can have a profound impact, teaching them about different cultures and perspectives and experiences. And diverse literature helps your child become a global citizen because it fosters empathy and a deep appreciation for the richness of the world's cultures. And this is what we want. We celebrate this in BTDT Homeschool all the time to teach our children about inclusivity and diversity.
Absolutely. And one book that stands out for me is Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. And it talks about the story of Esperanza, who's a young girl who transitions from a life of privilege in Mexico to the hardships of migrant farming in California during the Great Depression. Such a good book.
It is such a good book. And it's books like this that help my kids understand resilience and the immigrant experience. When my son hit high school, I had him read American Dirt by Janine Cummings. And these are the types of stories they become deeply invested in, nurturing the compassion and social awareness that we all want for our children.
Oh, yeah. That's such a good book. We read that for a book club. And I should have Jillian read it, too.
Yeah, have Jillian read it.
Yeah, though it's sometimes it's a little controversial because I think it was written by a white woman.
So, yeah, it was. So the thing is, it was written by a white woman, so she didn't have the firsthand experience, but I feel like she painted the picture in such a respectful way.
Yeah.
There's controversy because people feel like you should be celebrating and supporting a Mexican American
writing that story, which we read those stories too.
Right.
We read a lot.
We do.
But yeah, it was a really good book.
Another book that comes to mind is The Watsons Go to Birmingham. And this was another eye-opening read for my kids. It's set in the 1960s and it follows the Watson family as they journey from Flint, Michigan to Birmingham, Alabama. It really gives you a glimpse into the civil rights movement through the eyes of a 10-year-old. His name is Kenny Watson, and the book started some really great discussions about justice and equality. I assure you they won't forget the history. They won't even need an exam for this one. Like, seriously, you don't even need to test. That's what people always like, well, what's the test? Where's the key? Where's the teacher's instruction?
No, you just talk about it.
You just talk about it.
You know what your kids know after you've read those books together.
As a matter of fact, we talked about this before, that my kids' first exam, both of them, was the entrance exams into the local college when they were freshmen in high school.
Yeah. A lot of times people will ask, like, well, if I haven't read like, if you're not reading the books together, like, if I haven't read the book, how am I supposed to know, how they answer, if the question they answer is correct? And I'm like, well, don't you know your kids? Like, you know when they're BSing an answer.
Yeah.
You will know when you ask them a question about a book that's really captivated them.
Well, but also that you and I always read our books alongside our children.
Yeah.
So, that would be the first recommendation, is to also read the book, because it actually sparks these more meaningful conversations if you're contributing to it too.
Oh, right. So many car conversations I can tell you that we have done just like while driving to somewhere else about like a book that we're reading. It's awesome. And one of the beauties of a literature-based curriculum is its flexibility. You can teach multiple kids, different ages, using that same book. So for subjects like math, you can set aside individual time, but for history, science, and literature, gather everyone together. These discussions that follow a shared reading experience are invaluable and allow each child to contribute at their level.
Right. And you know what? When we're giving some examples on some books, one of my favorite books, I didn't want to end this episode without talking about this one. I read with my now 17-year-old is The Giver.
Oh,
And
that's a nice
it's
one.
literally my favorite young adult book. It's a dystopian novel and it follows a 12-year-old. His name is Jonas, and he discovers the dark secrets of his seemingly perfect community. Cameron was fascinated by the adventure and mystery, but it also sparked deeper discussions about ethics and freedom. I mean, this is the future, and they talk about this obviously in 1984. He also
Yeah.
read that book, but I love these dystopian kind of books because it really, I mean, our young children need to understand like the future that they're creating. And it also opened up great discussions about the importance of memory and emotions. You know, we've volunteered for years at an Alzheimer and Dementia Center. And I mean, it really did spark conversations from real world experiences they were having by engaging in the residents at that facility.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a powerful way to learn together.
Right. And, traditional education often compartmentalizes different subjects, but the real world is interconnected.
It is.
And a literature-based homeschool mimics this natural learning process. It weaves these subjects together seamlessly. So, for example, a book about ancient Egypt can lead you to explorations in history, geography, art, and even science.
Oh yeah, like the Golden Goblet.
Oh,
That
yeah.
opened up a whole world of learning for us. Set in ancient Egypt, and it follows a young boy who dreams of becoming a goldsmith. And during the time we read it, we also were exploring ancient Egyptian culture and architecture and daily life. And we also created art projects that were inspired by Egyptian artifacts. We learned about the geography of the Nile River and even tried our hand at writing some hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
So this is just one of the books that we read during that unit study, but this book really stands out because it's such a fantastic story. And doing all these activities and reading rich literature really tied multiple subjects together beautifully. And I love studying ancient Egypt. And I can promise you that before homeschooling, that was not the case. I hated history. And I know a lot of kids that are being withdrawn, like we talked about, hate history. And now I absolutely love it. And so do my kids.
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure. In ancient Egypt, oh my goodness, we made that Nile turkey pan, grass seed. We made a chicken mummy. Did
We
you ever
did.
do the chicken mummy?
I did not, but I know you and Amy did.
Oh yeah. My
Ew.
friend made one with a fish, but I think the chicken mummy was enough.
I mean, how do you learn about mummification if you're not mummifying a real
a
living...
real object, a real living.
Well, not living any...
Oh, yeah, the chicken was dead when we started.
yeah.
Just
We-
yeah, we
we're not
didn't-
killing chickens.
We didn't. I mean, some. We just did a homesteading episode, so
Yeah.
you might.
I mean,
You might start from the basics.
we did talk about having chickens.
We didn't, but you can. Okay, there's no limits. So, so now you really might be thinking, but I don't love to read. Like, what if you don't love to read? Trust me, you're not alone.
Right. A lot of parents weren't taught to appreciate books and stories growing up. I felt the same way at first, but seeing my children's love for books and the story grow as we read together totally changed everything for me. Their excitement, they were super joyous and it was contagious. And before I knew it, I found myself loving literature too. And this can be your experience as well. So please just open up your heart. Just see
Yeah.
if you're like, I don't like to read. First of all, never say that in front of your children.
No,
Never say that.
because that's contagious too.
It is. So, I mean, we really are teaching by example.
Yeah,
So
and it's never too late to develop a love of learning yourself.
That's true.
You know what?
Yeah.
You could do it.
You can. After you finish this episode, head on over to our website for show notes, references, and pictures of everything that we're discussing today. You can also join us on Facebook and Instagram for more content and give us a thumbs up. You can also join our Homeschool Freebies Facebook group for helpful resources and tips. Over the years, we found so many free resources all over the place, and we have used them in our homeschool and love them, and we are just out there sharing all this stuff with you. So join us.
Are you excited to make literature a meaningful part of your family's life?
Say yes.
Yeah, it's easier than you think. So here's some simple yet powerful ways to spark a love of literature and weave it into your homeschool.
That's right. They need to know how to do
How do you
this.
do this?
So, the first thing you want to do is you want to create a cozy reading nook. So, you could designate a special spot in your home where everyone can snuggle up with a good book. You want to fill it with comfy chairs or soft blankets, wide selection of books, of course, that cater to each of your family's members' needs and interests. And this inviting space signals that reading is a valued and enjoyable activity and makes it more likely that your kids will want to spend time with their books. So create that space,
Yeah.
make it a normal thing in your home.
At this point, my entire house is a cozy reading nook, really, with couches and blankets and everything. But you can also have a special one. Remember, I had a secret room under the stairs for a long time.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
it
the first
awesome.
house you lived in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cute area.
Yeah. Also, set a reading routine. Establish a regular reading routine, whether it's bedtime stories, morning read alouds, kick off your homeschool day, or afternoon quiet reading time. Consistency helps build a reading habit, and it creates a sense of anticipation and making reading your treasured part of your day.
Absolutely. You also want to make library trips a fun and frequent outing. Let your kids explore the shelves and choose books that spark their curiosity. The joy of discovering new books can be incredibly motivating, and many offer story time or reading programs and different kind of reading events. We were almost always at our max checkout at 50 books, and we always had a special basket for library books to help keep track of them because you can lose them. Now they don't even charge a fee if you don't
I know,
return 'em.
which poor planning on their part because I pretty much funded the public library with my overdue fees.
Well, it was a couple years ago. Our library also extended the 50 book max checkout to
Oh my gosh.
100.
Oh, that would be a
And-
problem.
Oh, yeah. 100 books is a lot of books. But I'm
That
telling
is.
you, especially when they're younger and it's a lot of picture books, like,
Yeah, it goes fast. You know, we even had at one library we had our own hold shelf. Like they put my name on it because
Are you
yes,
serious?
because all my books would not fit in the H with everybody else in the H. So they finally were like, you know what? Here, we're just going to give you the whole bottom row.
oh, that's hysterical.
Isn't that funny? So, yep. And, mix up genres. Introduce your children to a variety of genres. I'll read all kinds of things personally. That's what I like about book clubs. It kind of makes you read something maybe you wouldn't pick out yourself. But from fantasy to historical fiction to biographies to science, this keeps reading fresh and exciting while broadening your horizons. You can explore our top 50 books for new readers and our favorite middle school books that are also favorite read alouds. And be sure to offer a variety as different genres help children develop diverse interests and discover what types of stories resonate with them.
Yeah, absolutely. The next thing you can do to try to incorporate this into your homeschool is reading together and discussing. We talked about narration, but we love family read alouds and we encourage you to spend time reading books together. It can engage thoughtful discussions about each of the characters and everything we talked about earlier. Ask open-ended questions about the characters and the plot and whatever they think of the story. And these kinds of conversations enhance comprehension, but it also helps make reading a shared experience.
And incorporate audiobooks. Audiobooks are a wonderful way to enjoy literature, especially for reluctant readers. You can listen to them during car rides and while doing chores. Expressive narration can bring stories to life in a whole new way. We've got a whole blog post with some of the best resources to listen to free audiobooks. And audiobooks are not cheating. They help kids develop listening skills and can introduce them to more complex books when they might not have the skill to read at that level yet.
Yeah. A lot of people do think it's cheating, but it's absolutely not. And one of the things I liked, especially with the new readers, we'd put an audiobook on and also have the printed
The
book.
physical book, yeah.
And they follow along, and it actually helps them to word recognition and
Yeah.
such. So.
Jillian still does that as a high schooler. She loves to have the Kindle in her hand while she's listening to the book.
Love that. That's cute. I
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
always been something she likes. And, we love our Libby and Overdrive where you can get those free books from the
Right.
library.
Yeah, and check out that blog post because there are a lot. I have, I think, 20 different resources there
Yeah.
for free books,
It's awesome.
free audiobooks. So you can also bring the stories you're reading to life with activities related to that book. You can cook a meal from a culture that you're studying, or you can create art inspired by the story, or take a field trip mentioned in the book. And these hands-on experiences make stories tangible and memorable, which deepen their connection to the literature. I know that for Girl Scouts, I mean, I've done many unit studies
Yeah.
when I've always done the activities. But in Girl Scouts, didn't you guys do a book club where you like cooked the food? And we
Oh, yeah, that was it wasn't Girl Scouts, it was our old American Girl History Club.
Oh, the American. Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a group one of my friends started, two of my friends actually. And yeah, they would do several weeks of the American Girl books because they each, each doll has like a time period and
Yeah.
stuff. And so they would do all kinds of history stuff. And then the last meeting was always a potluck. And they would make you bread. So I specifically remember Julie's book, who Julie is born in 1964, so the 70s. They gave us recipes to bring. Like you could bring your own, or if you needed one. And so we made some of those like horrific, like Jello.
Oh, the Jello molds.
Yeah, like the Jello molds.
Congealed
that,
salad.
Oh my goodness. So not necessarily delicious, but memorable for sure.
Somebody likes them. Obviously, somebody likes them.
Somebody does.
Somebody
Oh gosh, I'm glad those aren't the style anymore. Yeah, no. I'm thinking of a hot dog one with olives. I don't even want to talk about it. But anyway, again, model a love of reading for your kids. Let your children see you enjoying books and share your excitement about the stories you're reading. Discuss them with your family. When kids see parents valuing and enjoying reading, then they're likely to develop a similar appreciation.
Exactly. You can also build a collection of books that your family can easily access. So build a home library. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can go to thrift stores or garage sales, and even libraries sales are great places to find affordable books. A home library not only fosters curiosity, but it also creates a sense of pride in having a personal collection of stories. And it's just so fun to just walk over to the bookshelf and just like start looking around and
Yeah.
seeing what's there, because if you have a whole collection, like there's stories that they like to read and reread.
Yep.
So
And we are lucky. We have one of those like free little neighborhood libraries across,
those are so
just
cute.
right across the street from my house. So not only do I stuff it full of books, but we check that thing like every other day because people are always putting stuff in there. I've read some of my favorite books that I've read have come out of there that I've just picked them up because they're interesting. And then I always have a stack of books that I'm ready to put back in there for other people. So those are fun. And if you've got one in your neighborhood, you can look up on a website and find where all of them are in your city and stuff. You can go visit
you
those.
say that, and I totally forgot about this till right now. Is we were about 2 years ago, we were going to do one. We're going to put one
how
here in our
fun.
yard.
Oh, you have a great spot for one.
Yeah,
there.
and there are plans online. You can build your own.
Yeah.
They have lists and everything. You can just go to Home Depot and buy your stuff and build it. We did not do that, but it was on my radar.
You should still do it. My friend Tina, in fact, I'll link her page. She does a banned book little library.
Oh,
and
I
she
love
has
that.
2 different boxes because hers is so popular and people contribute money to it. And it is the sweetest thing. She puts little gifties in there. It is awesome. I wish I lived near her.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll have to do a banned book
Yeah.
little library out front.
And another of my friends just made one and they made it out of an old grandfather clock.
What? That's
Yeah.
so cute.
I know. And you're crafty. You could totally
Okay.
make yours out of. You don't have to make it look like the little library. You can make it out of anything you
Oh,
want.
maybe I need to find a grandfather clock on the
I
side of the
know.
road. I'm really good at that. I can
I
find
know.
trash and make it treasure every day.
Oh,
this is my
your
specialty.
Cameron's senior project.
People think I'm a homeschooler and I own a business. No. I just like to pick up stuff on the side of the road, trash, and make it treasure.
You do. You have a talent at that. We all are like, Maria, if you see this for me, pick it up. Um, so getting back to our important episode, encourage writing. Nurture your child's creativity by encouraging them to write their own stories, and you can provide them with journals and encouragement for their imaginative efforts. Writing helps children find their own voice. It deepens their appreciation for the stories they read, and this could be a poem or a creative story or just a recount of a historical event.
I love that, actually. That's kind of a lot of our writing over the years.
Yeah.
You can also create or join a homeschool book club where your kids can read and discuss books with their friends. And this makes reading a shared activity, and it allows them to bond over their favorite stories and deepen their love for literature. Book clubs also teach how to express their thoughts and listen to others. You can take turns. You can also join a mom's book club. I mean, we've been in so many book clubs over the years, me personally with adults, but
Yeah.
also my kids. And also I've led many children
Yeah.
in Sale up in McKinney. We've been in their book club for years.
Yeah, I'm in 3 book clubs right now that are for grown-ups. But I also tried to start a high school mother-daughter book club several years ago, and it didn't quite pan out because just high schoolers are all real busy. But we did end up spinning off like a middle school one, like for the younger girls. Like they were all interested, and so were their moms. And so we did that for several years with my youngest, and it was really fun because we catered the food to the stories, and like we went all out with our book club potluck meals.
How
I'll
did
tell
I
you
not
that.
know this? I didn't know this.
Yeah, it was really cute. In fact, I just saw one of our pictures pop up the other day. We had done what's the penguin book? I'm drawing a blank.
Mr. Popper's Penguins?
Yes, Mr. Popper's Penguins. We made some like crazy food for that. Like I made a blue Jello ice glacier thing there were like gummy sharks in it. Somebody else made these like mozzarella and olive penguins. We were nuts. We were nuts.
See those pictures.
I know,
Share
it
those
was
with me.
over the top. We'll post them. I'll use them on our website. So anyway, a literature-based education can really harness your children's natural love for stories. It enhances communication skills. It makes learning an engaging, connected process, and it really can introduce your kids to other cultures, making them a global citizen with empathy for all.
Yeah, and it's a common sense approach that both is memorable and effective, and it can allow you to learn just right alongside your children and enjoy the journey together. So grab a book, gather your family, and let's get started.
Yes.
So tune in next time as we discuss
Episode 70, Redefining Normal. We're going to talk about really embracing homeschooling.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Cheers! Be sure to check us out on our website at btdthomeschool.com, as in been there, done that, btdthomeschool.com. You can join our mailing list and get news and updates on future podcasts, and be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at the BTDT Been There, Done That Homeschool Podcast.